S&P 500 and the Nasdaq both making new intraday all-time highs, not closing, however, at the all-time high. Nevertheless, very nice day for the indexes. If you look over at the Russell, you could see it's actually in jeopardy here of possibly a move down lower. And then we take a look at the Dow, and that looks healthy. We'll take a look at the indexes. We're going to take a look at the dollar selling off again, taking a poke right now at $90.83. The next bit of resistance. We're going to take a look at gold and silver, which almost as if they knew that some type of stimulus package was coming through. Now, that stimulus package was floated this morning earlier at a much higher number than we're seeing this afternoon. Now we're seeing $470 billion. That's targeted $332 billion plus another $140 billion of unspent funds. That's not new money. They just wasn't spent yet, for a total of almost $500 billion, a little under the $800 trillion package being floated this morning. Nevertheless, it is $500 billion. It's almost as if silver earlier, before that idea was floated around, caught wind of that, as silver was up 5% earlier in the session, now up 6%. Gold too, trading near the highs of the session. And Bitcoin has been a volatile day, down 7% as New York came to work, and now closing, or I should say closing down about 3%, clawing back about 4% off its lows. But if you look at where it's closing right above this resistance, that's interesting. Let's do it. Let's start with the S&P 500. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. We're starting here with the S&P 500. As I pointed out, already made new all-time highs earlier in the session today, off its highs. But you have to ask yourself a couple of things. Are you that person that all year long has been looking for the turn and to short the indexes? And if so, why? If you look around you at the global liquidity that's been injected since going back to June, I've been very clear, quantitative easing is asset inflationary. Stocks go up. Here we go. Do you think this is the high print of all time, and from here we're going to have a correction? There's nothing at all right now pointing to any type of correction or any technical damage to the indexes. They all look beautiful. The only one that's kind of in play here is the E-mini Russell. Looking at the Russell 2000, you can see that we have broken down below this trend line here of support. This is a rising wedge over here. You could see over here as price rises and it gets narrower and narrower. What happened was that we broke down over here, have since come down and retested, and are now resuming off. What makes this an interesting trade is your stop loss is so tight, and your risk to reward coming into this first area of support is really favorable. If you are an active trader trading the E-minis, that's something to watch out for right there. If you're not, just take notice of what is happening, the structure of this pattern, this rising wedge, how it's breaking down and how it plays out, because a market is a market. Dow, what happened? We have the S&P making new all-time highs. Dow did last week. Russell did last week. Today we have the Dow and the S&P trading off a little bit. Now, the Dow is still up 0.5% on the day, and it's still above this trend line over here. So this is actually a very bullish formation that continues to go overhead here and print, unless, of course, we take out this trend line to the downside. So sometimes you got to take the signal as they occur. The Nasdaq looks a lot like the S&P 500, printing a new all-time high during the day and then closing below that all-time high. Nothing of worry at all on all of the indexes, all looking good. Only perhaps the Russell is giving that canary in the coal mine signal over here. The dollar's trading off substantially today, down off 0.75%, really starting to bleed out now to yearly lows. Hold on to your milkshake. It's getting rough out there. So what is the best play against the dollar? Have you thought about that? If we're seeing the dollar continue to weaken, right now we're seeing record foreign low demand for treasuries, and we're seeing the Federal Reserve buying those treasuries. Something is not right over here. Are we seeing de-dollarization? Speaking about this a year ago, it would really trigger people. to even consider the fact that other countries were de-dollarizing. This is a direct result of using the financial system as a weapon, specifically sanctions against countries such as Russia and Iran. It's had consequences. We're seeing those consequences play out right now. So what else to say over here? What's the best trade against the weakening dollar? Before we get to gold and silver, let's just look at Bitcoin. This seems to me to be the best way to play a weakening dollar if you believe the dollar is going to weaken. Now, if the dollar were to strengthen from where it is right now and we would see some type of tightening of liquidity, don't rest assured, Bitcoin is also going to continue to do its thing over here. You've seen it break all sorts of correlations over the last couple of months. That's going to continue into next year and even grow substantially more pronounced. Bitcoin over here looking good. It went on to print new all-time highs in the last 24 hours and then came off 7%. That dip was bought again. And now we're just closing off a few percentage, but closing above a pretty important technical level. That's right over here. I'm going to zoom out a second. I just want you to see that line I'm focused on right now. Let me zoom out. And there it is right there above that trend line. It's a new leg up. This could be taking us here for a run up, I would say, towards somewhere around, we'll as we get closer to it, we'll look with more precision, but around 22,000. Around 22,000. And right now, I think the number that has to be in your head is no longer breaking new all-time highs, as that was done in the last 24 hours, but I think you have to be thinking 40,000. 40,000 would be 150% gain from this low over here. Now, this was only a 15% pullback. It was not a 30% pullback. Nevertheless, it is the pullback we have to work off of. And until that's taken out, I'm targeting 150% above, targeting $40,000. When that will happen, well, I don't know when that will happen, but I can say that it's going to happen, in my opinion, no later than the second quarter of 2021. Quite possible it happens in the first. We will see. Gold over here up 2% today. This looks to me, listen, we know the markets are manipulated. What are you going to do about it? You can only trade within the manipulation. That's for sure. We know gold is manipulated and suppressed. You know, people have had to pay massive fines for manipulating gold. That's not a conspiracy theory or anything like that. Now, it looks to me like we saw, 15% off the all-time high, a little bit of bargain hunting perhaps coming in, or did someone actually have some type of word of what was happening on the Hill today and know that some type of stimulus plan was going to be floated? I go with the latter. It seems like someone really knew what was going on over here. Someone bid up the precious metals ahead of that news. Nevertheless, you could see that they like it. And now silver, right, has gone from, let me take a look on the daily time frame with you really quick. You can see silver tracking this trend line over here. It never closed below it. This is like a save and a butte. It barely made it, but it made it. You can see it just wicked down over here, closed back up, and is now above the trend line. This looks like the opportunity here with perhaps a new swing low put in place somewhere around $21.78. It looks like any pullback and resumption now out of this will be a place to pick up silver with a pretty decent risk to reward now. So that's interesting. What else is there to say? I'll see you in the morning. How about that? Everyone, have a beautiful afternoon. If you didn't smash the like button, please do go ahead, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And just know that I'm grateful and thankful for it.